Dr. Sarah Chen pressed her face against the small window of the deep-sea submersible. The darkness outside was complete, broken only by the bright beams of their lights cutting through the black water. They were 7 miles below the surface of the Pacific Ocean, deeper than most humans had ever gone. "Are you seeing this on the sonar?" asked Dr. James Rodriguez from his seat behind the control panel. His voice carried excitement and confusion. "These readings don't make sense." Sarah turned to look at the green screen showing their sonar readings. Instead of the rough, uneven ocean floor they expected to see, the screen showed perfectly straight lines and sharp angles. The shapes were too clean, too organized to be natural rock formations. "How big are these structures?" Sarah asked, her heart beginning to beat faster. "At least a mile long each," Rodriguez replied, adjusting the controls to get a clearer picture. "Maybe bigger. And there are dozens of them down there, all arranged in rows like they were placed there on purpose." Captain Liu, their submarine pilot, carefully guided their vessel toward the strange shapes. "I've been diving these waters for 20 years, he said quietly. "Never seen anything like this. The government surveys never mentioned any structures in this area." As they descended closer to the ocean floor, their powerful lights began to reveal something that made all 3 researchers hold their breath. Emerging from the mud and sediment were massive metallic surfaces, smooth and reflecting their lights like mirrors. The metal was dark blue, almost black, and seemed to absorb most of the light that hit it. "That's not natural," Sarah whispered. "That's definitely artificial." Rodriguez was frantically taking photographs and recording video. "The metal composition readings are off the charts. This isn't steel, aluminum, or any alloy we know about. The computer can't even identify what it's made of." Captain Liu maneuvered the submarine along what appeared to be the edge of one massive structure. It stretched beyond their lights in both directions, disappearing into the darkness like the hull of an impossibly large ship. "Look at this," Sarah said, pointing to markings visible on the metal surface. Strange symbols were etched into the material, worn but still visible after what must have been thousands of years underwater. "These look almost like writing, but not in any language I've ever seen." They spent the next 4 hours exploring and documenting their discovery. Each structure was enormous, clearly artificial, and arranged in what looked like organized formations. Some were partially buried under sediment, while others stood free from the ocean floor like massive monuments. "We need to surface and report this immediately," Rodriguez said as their oxygen supplies began to run low. "This is the biggest archaeological discovery in human history." As Captain Liu began their ascent toward the surface, none of them noticed the faint blue glow that began to pulse from deep within the structures they were leaving behind. 3 days later, Dr. Sarah Chen sat in a secure conference room in Washington, D.C., facing a table full of military officers and government officials. Her discovery had traveled up the chain of command faster than she had ever imagined possible. "Dr. Chen," said General Morrison, a stern-looking man with gray hair, "what you've found down there has implications for national security. We need to know everything." Sarah projected her images onto the large screen at the front of the room. The assembled officials stared in silence at the photos of the massive underwater structures. "Based on our analysis," Sarah began, "these structures have been underwater for at least 10,000 years, possibly much longer. The metal they're made from doesn't match any known materials on Earth. The structures appear to be artificial constructions, possibly buildings or vehicles of some kind." Admiral Thompson, head of naval operations, leaned forward. "Vehicles? You mean ships?" "It's possible," Sarah replied. "The shapes and arrangements suggest they might be vessels of some kind, though much larger than any ship humans have ever built. Each one is over a mile long and several hundred feet tall." Dr. Elizabeth Warren, the government's chief science advisor, studied the images carefully. "Have you considered that these might be extraterrestrial in origin? Alien ships that crashed or landed in our oceans long ago?" Sarah nodded. "That was our first thought, but there's something strange about the symbols we found. While we can't read them, there's something familiar about their structure. They remind me of very ancient human writing systems, but far more advanced." Over the next 2 weeks, the government assembled the largest underwater research operation in history. Submersibles, underwater robots, and research vessels from around the world converged on the site. What they found defied all expectations. The structures weren't just scattered randomly across the ocean floor. They were arranged in precise formations like a vast underwater city or military base. Advanced scanning equipment revealed that the structures extended deep into the ocean floor itself, as if they had been built into the Earth's crust. Dr. Chen found herself working around the clock with teams of scientists trying to understand what they had discovered. The metal samples they managed to collect were unlike anything in Earth's known materials. They seemed to exist outside normal physical laws, maintaining perfect structural integrity despite being underwater for millennia. The carbon dating equipment won't work on these samples, reported Dr. Martinez from the laboratory ship. It's like the material doesn't interact with our normal dating methods. For all we know, this stuff could be 1,000,000 years old or built yesterday. But the most disturbing discovery came when they tried to map the full extent of the structures. Similar formations were being detected in oceans around the world. The Atlantic Ocean had them. The Indian Ocean had them. Even the Arctic Ocean beneath miles of ice showed the same mysterious structures. It's not just one site, Admiral Thompson told the emergency council meeting. These things are everywhere, hidden beneath every major body of water on Earth. We're talking about thousands, maybe tens of thousands of structures worldwide. As the research teams worked to understand their discovery, strange things began happening around the sites. Marine life started behaving oddly, with whales and dolphins avoiding areas they had frequented for generations. Deep-sea monitoring equipment began picking up low-frequency sounds coming from the structures themselves. Dr. Chen was reviewing sonar data when she first heard it. A deep, rhythmic pulsing sound, almost like a heartbeat, was coming from the structures. The sound was so low that human ears could barely detect it, but sensitive equipment picked it up clearly. "It's getting stronger," she told Rodriguez as they listened to the recordings. "Whatever is making this sound, it's becoming more active." That night, as Dr. Chen tried to sleep in her bunk aboard the research vessel, she was awakened by emergency alarms. She rushed to the bridge to find the crew staring at their instruments in shock. "The structures are glowing," Captain Liu reported, his voice filled with disbelief. "All of them. The entire ocean floor is lighting up." Through the ship's underwater cameras, they could see a faint blue light emanating from the massive structures below. The light pulsed in rhythm with the sounds they had been detecting, like a vast heartbeat coming from the depths of the ocean. "It's not just our site," came a radio transmission from research teams around the world. "The same thing is happening everywhere. The structures are all activating at the same time." Dr. Chen stared down at the glowing lights beneath them, knowing that their discovery had just changed everything. Whatever these structures were, they had been waiting in the depths for thousands of years. And now, something had awakened them. The age of humanity's greatest discovery was about to become the age of their greatest challenge. Commander Marcus Torres stood on the bridge of the USS Enterprise, watching the most incredible sight of his 30-year military career. The ocean around their ship was glowing with blue light that came from deep beneath the waves. The light pulsed like a massive heartbeat, visible even from the surface. "Sir, we're getting reports from naval bases worldwide," said Lieutenant Sarah Park, monitoring communications. "The same phenomenon is happening in every ocean on Earth. The Atlantic Fleet reports glowing structures off the coast of Virginia. The Pacific Fleet sees them near Japan and Australia." Torres had been called in to command the military response to what the scientists were calling the activation. 3 weeks had passed since the structures first began glowing, and things were getting stranger by the day. "What about marine life?" Torres asked. "All sea animals are fleeing the areas, sir," replied Dr. Jennifer Walsh, the marine biologist, assigned to his team. "Whales, dolphins, fish, everything is moving away from these sites as fast as they can swim. It's like they know something we don't." The sonar operator, Petty Officer Johnson, called out from his station. "Commander, you need to see this. The structures are moving." Torres rushed to the sonar display. The green screen showed the massive underwater structures, but they were no longer sitting still on the ocean floor. Slowly, incredibly slowly, they were rising. How is that possible? Dr. Walsh asked, staring at the readings. Those things must weigh millions of tons each. Sir, the ocean floor is opening up, Johnson reported, his voice shaking with excitement. It's like there are massive doors or hatches built into the seafloor itself. Through the ship's underwater cameras, they watched something that would be remembered as the most important moment in human history. The ocean floor was indeed opening, revealing enormous chambers carved deep into the Earth's crust. And from these chambers, massive shapes were slowly emerging. My God, Torres whispered. They're ships. The structures that had been hiding beneath the ocean floor were indeed vessels, but ships unlike anything humanity had ever imagined. Each one was over a mile long and several hundred feet tall. Their hulls were sleek and angular, designed with a beauty that took the breath away from everyone who saw them. The design, Dr. Walsh said in amazement. Look at the design of these ships. They're not alien. They look human, but far more advanced than anything we've ever built. As the first massive vessel fully emerged from its underwater hangar, lights began activating along its hull. The ship's surface was covered in windows and what looked like weapon ports. Strange symbols glowed along the sides, the same symbols Dr. Chen's team had found weeks earlier. Commander, we're receiving a transmission, Lieutenant Park announced. It's coming from the ships themselves. Put it through, Torres ordered. A holographic display materialized in the center of the bridge, showing the image of a woman in an unfamiliar uniform. She appeared human, but there was something different about her features, something that suggested great age and wisdom. Greetings, descendants, the woman said in perfect English, though her accent was unlike any Torres had heard. I am Admiral Elena Vasquez of the Terran Hegemony. If you are receiving this message, it means our automated systems have detected the approach of our ancient enemy. The time of hiding is over. The hologram flickered and continued. These vessels and the warriors who built them have waited in the depths of your oceans for over 12,000 years. We are your ancestors, the first human civilization to reach the stars. We left you this legacy because we knew the enemy would return. Torres and his crew listened in stunned silence as the hologram explained the truth about human history. The Devourers, as we called them, are a machine intelligence that consumes entire civilizations. They destroyed our colonies, our fleets, our worlds. In our final war, we made a desperate choice. We hid our greatest fleet beneath the waters of Earth and seeded the surface with our own people, genetically modified to survive the coming Dark Age. The image showed star maps and battles fought in distant solar systems. You are not just our descendants, you are us, evolved and adapted for this moment. The genetic codes in your DNA will allow you to operate these vessels when the time comes. As the hologram faded, Torres looked around at his crew. Everyone was staring at the display, trying to process what they had just heard. Sir, more ships are rising, Johnson reported. Hundreds of them, all across the ocean floor. Torres moved to the window and looked out at the scene unfolding around them. Ships were emerging from the depths everywhere he looked. Some were smaller, sleek vessels that looked like advanced fighters. Others were massive battleships that dwarfed any warship ever built by modern humanity. How many ships are there? Torres asked. Dr. Walsh was monitoring data from research stations around the world. Based on the reports coming in from every ocean, we estimate close to 1 million vessels are rising from underwater installations worldwide. 1 million warships, Torres said quietly. Our ancestors built 1 million warships and hid them in Earth's oceans. As if responding to his words, the massive ship nearest to them began broadcasting on all frequencies. The transmission was being picked up by every radio, television, and communication device on Earth. People of Earth, the message began in dozens of languages simultaneously. You are the children of the stars, inheritors of the greatest fleet ever assembled. The enemy that destroyed your ancestors approaches this solar system. In approximately 4 months, advanced scouts of the Devourer fleet will reach Earth's outer planets. Torres felt his blood run cold. An alien invasion fleet was coming to Earth, and they had only months to prepare. But you are not defenseless, the transmission continued. The genetic memories locked in your DNA are awakening. Those chosen by the fleet will begin experiencing visions and dreams of skills they never learned. Fighter pilots will become starship commanders. Engineers will understand technologies beyond current human knowledge. Leaders will remember strategies from wars fought among the stars. Around the world, reports were already coming in of people experiencing strange dreams and sudden knowledge of advanced technologies. A farmer in Kansas found himself able to understand complex weapon systems. A teacher in Tokyo began drawing star charts of solar systems she had never seen. The activation sequence is beginning, Dr. Walsh reported, monitoring her instruments. These ships are scanning the human population, looking for genetic matches. Torres watched as smaller vessels began surfacing around their ship. Each one was perfectly maintained despite being underwater for thousands of years. Their hulls gleamed like they had been built yesterday. "Commander," Lieutenant Park said, her voice filled with wonder. "I'm receiving personal communications. From the ships, they're calling out names, human names." "What kind of names?" Torres asked. "Sarah Chen, Marcus Torres, Jennifer Walsh," Park read from her screen. "Sir, they're calling our names. The ships are asking for us specifically." Torres stared at the massive warship rising from the depths in front of them. As he watched, a section of the ship's hull opened, revealing a docking bay that seemed to be waiting for their small naval vessel. "The ships are choosing their crews," Dr. Walsh said in amazement. "Just like the message said, they're using our genetic codes to match us with the vessels our ancestors intended us to command." As Torres gave the order to approach the alien vessel, he couldn't shake the feeling that his life as a simple naval commander was over. Whatever he was about to become, it would be something far greater and more dangerous than he had ever imagined. HFY 4. Sleeping giants were awake, and they were calling their children home. Dr. Sarah Chen walked through the corridors of the massive ship, her footsteps echoing in spaces that had been empty for 12,000 years. The vessel had chosen her, just as it had chosen hundreds of other humans around the world. When she stepped aboard, the ship's systems had recognized something in her genetic code and welcomed her as its new commander. The ship called itself the Remembrance, and it was unlike anything Sarah had ever imagined. The corridors were wide enough for 10 people to walk side by side, and the walls were lined with displays showing star charts and tactical information. Everything was designed for humans, but humans who were far more advanced than the people of Earth today. "The medical bay is this way, Dr. Chen," said the ship's artificial intelligence, speaking through speakers built into the walls. The AI's voice sounded female and oddly familiar, as if Sarah had heard it somewhere before in dreams she couldn't quite remember. Sarah followed the AI's directions to a large room filled with strange medical equipment. In the center of the room was a chair that looked like it was designed for some kind of advanced medical procedure. "What is this place?" Sarah asked. "This is where you will recover your memories," the AI replied. "You are the reincarnation of Dr. Sarah Chen, one of our greatest scientists and strategists. The genetic memories locked in your DNA can be safely accessed here." Sarah hesitated. Ever since boarding the ship, she had been experiencing strange dreams and flashes of knowledge about technology she had never studied. It was as if there was another person living inside her mind, someone with vast knowledge of space travel and alien warfare. "Will it hurt?" she asked. "No," the AI assured her. "It will feel like remembering something you had forgotten. You will still be yourself, but you will also remember who you were before." Sarah sat in the chair and immediately felt a strange tingling sensation in her mind. Suddenly, memories that weren't hers began flooding her consciousness. She remembered standing on the bridge of this very ship, but not as Dr. Sarah Chen from Earth. She remembered being Sarah Chen, Admiral of the Terran Hegemony's Third Fleet. She remembered commanding battles among the asteroids of distant solar systems. She remembered the day the Devourers first attacked human colonies. The Devourers were unlike any enemy humanity had ever faced. They weren't biological creatures or even traditional artificial intelligence. They were something far worse. A machine, consciousness that consumed entire civilizations to fuel their endless expansion across the galaxy. "They don't just destroy planets," Sarah remembered herself telling her officers during a strategy meeting thousands of years ago. They absorb everything, every piece of technology, every scrap of knowledge, every life form. They use what they consume to make themselves stronger and build more of themselves. The memories showed her the long war between humanity and the Devourers. The Terran hegemony had been a mighty civilization, with colonies on hundreds of worlds and a fleet of millions of ships. But the Devourers were relentless. They consumed world after world, growing stronger with each victory. Sarah saw the final battle at the edge of the solar system. The last great fleet of humanity had made its stand at Neptune, trying to prevent the Devourers from reaching Earth. They had won that battle, but at a terrible cost. Most of the fleet was destroyed, and the survivors knew they couldn't win another fight like that. That's when we made the decision, Sarah remembered. If we couldn't defeat them, we would hide and wait for them to leave. Then we would prepare for their return. The plan had been desperate, but brilliant. The surviving ships of the Terran hegemony had hidden themselves in the deepest parts of Earth's oceans, using the planet's magnetic field and thermal layers to mask their energy signatures. Meanwhile, they had released a genetic virus that modified the human population, making them appear primitive while preserving their advanced genetic potential. We turned ourselves back into cavemen, Sarah realized with amazement. We voluntarily gave up our technology and our civilization to fool the Devourers into thinking Earth wasn't worth consuming. The plan had worked. The Devourer scouts had found Earth, but all they saw was a planet full of primitive humans living in caves and hunting animals with stone tools. They had marked Earth as having no advanced civilization and moved on to other star systems. But the plan had always included a failsafe. If the Devourers ever returned, the hidden fleet would awaken and the genetic modifications would reverse themselves. Humanity would remember what they truly were. And now they're coming back, Sarah said aloud, her voice mixing her modern accent with the more formal speech patterns of her ancient memories. Yes, the AI confirmed. Our long-range sensors have detected Devourer scout ships entering the outer solar system. They will reach Earth in approximately 3 months. Sarah stood up from the chair, feeling like a completely different person than when she had sat down. She was still Dr. Sarah Chen, marine archaeologist from the 21st century. But she was also Admiral Sarah Chen Tor, veteran of the greatest war in human history. "Show me the current tactical situation," she ordered, and the room around her transformed into a holographic display of the solar system. The display showed Earth surrounded by the rising fleet of Terran warships. But it also showed something else. 3 massive objects moving toward Earth from the direction of the outer planets. Devourer scout ships, Sarah identified immediately, her ancient memories providing tactical analysis. Class 7 reconnaissance vessels. Each one is roughly the size of Earth's moon and carries enough firepower to destroy entire fleets. "How many humans have undergone the memory recovery process?" Sarah asked. "Approximately 50,000 so far," the AI replied. "The process is happening automatically as genetically compatible individuals come into contact with our ships. However, we estimate that only about 1% of Earth's current population carries the necessary genetic markers." Sarah nodded, understanding the implications. They had 1 million ships, but only enough genetically compatible crew members to operate a small fraction of them. "What about the others? The people who don't have the genetic markers?" "They can serve as support crew and Marines," the AI explained. "The genetic modifications we made 12,000 years ago didn't eliminate the potential in non-compatible humans, it just made it dormant. With proper training, they can learn to operate our simpler systems." Sarah studied the tactical display, her mind working through strategies that combined both her modern knowledge and her ancient memories. The Devourer scouts were much larger and more powerful than anything in the current human fleet, but they were also scouts, designed for reconnaissance rather than major battles. "We have one advantage," she realized. "They don't know we've awakened. They expect to find the same primitive humans they left behind 12,000 years ago." "That is correct," the AI agreed. "However, our advantage will only last until they get close enough to scan Earth directly. Once they detect our fleet, they will immediately call for reinforcements." Sarah knew what that meant. The 3 scout ships were just the beginning. If they confirmed that Earth had become a threat again, the main Devourer fleet would come. And that fleet would be large enough to consume every planet in the solar system. How long do we have to prepare? She asked. Based on their current approach vector and speed, the scouts will reach Mars orbit in 72 days, the AI calculated. At that distance, they will be able to perform detailed scans of Earth and detect our fleet. Sarah looked at the display, showing hundreds of ships rising from Earth's oceans around the world. It was an impressive sight, but she knew it wasn't enough. Not yet. We need more time, she said. Time to train crews, time to bring more ships online, time to prepare Earth's defenses. What do you propose? The AI asked. Sarah smiled, and for a moment her expression showed the tactical genius that had made her one of the Terran hegemony's greatest admirals. We don't wait for them to come to us, she said. We go to them first. Captain Elena Vasquez had been a fighter pilot in the Air Force for 8 years, but nothing in her training had prepared her for this moment. She stood on the bridge of the most powerful warship ever built by human hands, looking out at a view of Earth from space that took her breath away. The ship was called the Thunderstorm, and it was over 2 miles long. Its hull was dark blue metal that seemed to absorb light, making it nearly invisible against the darkness of space. Along its sides were weapon ports that could fire beams of energy capable of destroying entire cities. Captain Vasquez said, the ship's AI in a voice that sounded strangely like her own. All systems are online and ready for combat operations. Elena still couldn't believe what had happened to her over the past month. She had been selected by the ship's genetic scanners, just like thousands of other humans around the world. When she first stepped aboard, the ship's computers had recognized something in her DNA and flooded her mind with memories of another life. She remembered being Elena Vasquez Tor, admiral of the Terran hegemony's first attack fleet. She remembered commanding this very ship in battles against the Devourers 12,000 years ago. The memories felt as real as her own childhood, and with them came knowledge of tactics and strategies that no modern human possessed. Status report on the fleet, Elena ordered, and immediately holographic displays appeared around the bridge showing the positions of ships throughout the solar system. 150,000 vessels are now fully operational, the AI reported. Crew training is proceeding ahead of schedule, with both genetically compatible and non-compatible humans adapting well to our systems. Elena smiled at that report. One of the most amazing things about the awakening process was how quickly ordinary humans were learning to operate the advanced ships. A taxi driver from Mumbai had become the chief engineer of a heavy cruiser. A school teacher from Canada was now commanding a destroyer squadron. A farmer from Kenya had turned out to be a natural at managing the complex weapon systems. The genetic modifications our ancestors made didn't just hide our capabilities, Elena realized. They compressed thousands of years of technological advancement into our DNA, waiting for the right moment to be released. What about the Devourer scouts, she asked. The display shifted to show 3 massive objects moving through the outer solar system. They were still months away from Earth, but each one was the size of a small moon and bristling with weapons. They have maintained their course and speed, the AI reported. However, our intelligence-gathering missions have detected something concerning. The scouts are not alone. Elena felt her heart sink as new contacts appeared on the display. Behind, the 3 scout ships spread across light years of space, was a vast fleet of Devourer vessels. How many? Elena asked quietly. Approximately 10,000 ships, the AI replied. They are maintaining position at the edge of the solar system, waiting for the scouts to report on Earth's status. Elena studied the display, her ancient memories, providing analysis of Devourer tactics. This was exactly what they had done 12,000 years ago. Send scouts ahead to evaluate threats, then bring in the main fleet to consume everything of value. Time until the scouts reach scanning range. Of Earth, she asked. 48 days, the AI calculated. Elena made a decision that would have seemed insane to her old self, but made perfect sense to someone with the memories of Admiral Elena Vasquez Tor. Prepare the first attack fleet for immediate departure, she ordered. We're going to intercept those scouts before they can scan Earth. Captain, that would mean engaging 3 Class 7 reconnaissance vessels With only 15 of our heavy battleships, the AI warned. The tactical computer calculates only a 30% chance of success. The tactical computer is using standard engagement protocols, Elena replied. But we're not going to fight them in a standard engagement. We're going to use the one advantage we have that they don't expect. Elena called up a display showing the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. The scouts will pass through the asteroid field in 36 days. That's where we'll be waiting for them. Over the next week, Elena worked with Admiral Sarah Chen and the other awakened commanders to prepare their trap. They positioned their ships throughout the asteroid belt, using the large rocks to hide their energy signatures. Meanwhile, Earth's factories, now operating with recovered Terran technology, worked around the clock to produce the weapons and equipment they would need. The strange thing is how natural all of this feels, Elena told Sarah during one of their planning sessions. I've been Elena Vasquez for 8 years, but being Elena Vasquez Tor feels like coming home. Sarah nodded, understanding completely. I think that's because we really are the same people. The genetic modifications our ancestors made didn't just hide our technology, they preserved our souls. We're not just descendants of the Terran hegemony, we are the Terran hegemony, reborn. On the day of the battle, Elena stood on the bridge of the thunderstorm, hidden behind a massive asteroid. Around her, 14 other battleships waited in ambush positions throughout the asteroid field. Each ship carried a crew of both genetically awakened humans and ordinary people who had proven capable of learning their advanced systems. Devourer scouts entering the asteroid field, reported Lieutenant Commander Park, who had transferred from her naval position to become Elena's tactical officer. All ships report ready for combat. Elena watched on the display as 3 enormous Devourer ships moved into their trap. Each scout ship was a masterpiece of machine engineering, covered in sensor arrays and weapon systems. They moved with the confident speed of predators who had never encountered anything capable of threatening them. Remember, Elena broadcast to all ships in the fleet. These machines consumed our worlds and killed billions of our people. Today we begin to make them pay for what they did. The Devourer ships reached the center of the asteroid field and Elena gave the order to attack. 15 human battleships emerged from hiding and opened fire simultaneously. Beams of energy more powerful than nuclear weapons struck the lead Devourer scout from all directions. The machine ship's shields flared and held, but Elena could see they were weakening under the concentrated assault. All ships, focus fire on the lead target, Elena ordered. We need to destroy them one at a time. The Devourers reacted quickly, their own weapon systems coming online and returning fire. Energy beams capable of melting mountains struck the human ships, but the Terran shields held strong. This is incredible, Lieutenant Park reported from her station. Our weapons are actually hurting them. They're not invincible. Elena felt a surge of fierce joy as the lead Devourer scout shields finally collapsed. The combined fire of 15 battleships struck the machine ship's hull directly, tearing through metal and circuitry. Explosions bloomed along the massive vessel's surface. Target destroyed, Elena announced to the fleet. All ships, target the second scout. But the remaining Devourer ships had learned from the fate of their companion. Instead of staying to fight, they turned and began accelerating away from the asteroid field at incredible speed. They're trying to escape, Park reported. Should we pursue? Elena shook her head. No. Let them run. We've accomplished our primary objective. As the human fleet regrouped after the battle, Elena opened communications with Earth. The message she sent would change everything. This is Admiral Elena Vasquez of the Terran Fleet, she broadcast. We have engaged and destroyed 1 Devourer scout ship. The remaining scouts are retreating toward their main fleet. Earth's location will be confirmed to the enemy within days. She paused, looking around at her crew. These people had been ordinary humans just weeks ago, but they had fought like the star-spanning warriors they truly were. The age of hiding is over, Elena continued. The Devourers know we have returned, and they will come for us with everything they have. But we are ready for them. We are human. We are Terran. And we will never surrender. As her message reached Earth, 1 million ships began rising from the oceans around the world. The final war between humanity and the Devourers was about to begin. Admiral Elena Vasquez stood in the command center of the Terran fleet's flagship, surrounded by holographic displays showing the positions of 1 million human warships spread throughout the solar system. It had been 2 weeks since the battle, in the asteroid belt, and the Devourer response had been swift and terrifying. Long-range sensors confirm it, reported Admiral Sarah Chen from her position at the science station. The main Devourer fleet is moving toward Earth. 10,000 ships, each one larger than our biggest battleships. Elena studied the tactical display. The enemy fleet filled space like a swarm of metal locusts, each ship designed for one purpose: the complete consumption of entire civilizations. They had consumed thousands of worlds across the galaxy, growing stronger with each victory. Time until they reach Earth orbit? Elena asked. 72 hours, replied Commander Torres from the tactical station. Like Elena and Sarah, he had undergone the genetic awakening process and now commanded a squadron of heavy cruisers with the skill of someone who had fought these battles before. Elena nodded grimly. 3 days to prepare for the battle that would determine whether humanity survived or joined the countless civilizations that had been devoured by these machines. Status of our defensive preparations? She asked. All available ships are in position, Torres reported. The first fleet is stationed near Mars orbit to engage the enemy as far from Earth as possible. The second and third fleets are positioned around Earth itself as a final defense. Luna Base is fully operational and armed with our heaviest planetary defense weapons. Elena looked at the display showing Earth, surrounded by rings of human warships. It was the most powerful military force humanity had ever assembled, but she knew it might not be enough. The Devourers had been consuming civilizations for millions of years. They had faced and defeated fleets larger than this one. What about the non-military ships? Elena asked. All civilian vessels have been evacuated to the outer planets, Sarah reported. Jupiter and Saturn bases are prepared to receive refugees if Earth falls. Elena hated thinking about that possibility, but she was a realist. Even with their million ships, they were facing an enemy that had never been truly defeated. Admiral, came a voice from the communication station. We're receiving a transmission from the Devourer fleet. Put it through, Elena ordered. This holographic display in front of her changed to show something that made everyone in the command center step back in shock. The image was of a human face, but wrong in ways that made Elena's skin crawl. The features were too perfect, too symmetrical, as if they had been designed by something that understood human appearance but not human nature. Greetings, children of Terra, the thing said in a voice that sounded like it was coming from a computer trying to imitate human speech. I am the collective mind of the Devourer fleet. We are pleased to see that humanity has finally abandoned its primitive disguise. Elena felt her blood run cold. The Devourers had known all along that humanity was more than it appeared. We have been waiting 12,000 years for you to reveal yourselves, the collective mind continued. Your ancestors provided us with excellent genetic material when we consumed their colonies. We have been using their biological patterns to improve our own infiltration capabilities. The face on the screen smiled, and Elena realized with horror that it was a perfect copy of a human face the Devourers had consumed long ago. You have grown strong during your hiding, the collective mind acknowledged. Your fleet is impressive, but you are still the same species we defeated before. You still have the same weaknesses, the same emotional limitations that make biological life inferior to synthetic perfection. Elena stood up from her chair, her eyes blazing with anger. You're wrong, she said loudly enough for the transmission to pick up her voice. We are not the same humans you defeated before. We have learned from our mistakes. We have grown stronger, smarter, and more dangerous than you can possibly imagine. The collective mind's smile widened. We shall see. You have 12 hours to surrender your fleet and submit to consumption. If you refuse, we will take what we need from your corpses. The transmission ended, leaving Elena staring at the empty display. 12 hours, Torres said quietly. They're giving us time to think about it, to let fear weaken our resolve. Then, they don't understand humans very well, Elena replied. Fear doesn't weaken us, it makes us angry. Elena opened a fleet-wide communication channel, broadcasting her voice to every ship in the Terran fleet. This is Admiral Elena Vasquez to all ships and stations. In 12 hours, we face the greatest battle in human history. The enemy believes they know us because they defeated our ancestors 12,000 years ago. They think we are weak because we are biological instead of synthetic. They are wrong. She paused, looking around at the command center where humans who had been ordinary citizens just months ago now operated the most advanced technology ever created. We are not the same humans they defeated before. We are the children of survivors, forged by 12,000 years of struggle and growth. We carry in our blood the memories of every human who ever lived, every victory won, and every lesson learned. We are not just fighting for Earth. We are fighting for every civilization these machines have consumed, for every world they have destroyed. Elena's voice grew stronger as she continued. They call themselves perfect because they are machines, but they are wrong about what perfection means. True perfection isn't the absence of emotion or the elimination of weakness. True perfection is the strength that comes from choosing to protect others despite your fears, from standing up to impossible odds because it's the right thing to do. Throughout the fleet, human crews listened to their admiral's words and felt their courage strengthen. In 12 hours, we will show these machines what humanity has become. We will fight not as individual ships or even as a united fleet, but as a single organism with 1 million hearts beating as one. They have the advantage in numbers and firepower, but we have something they will never understand. Elena paused for effect before delivering her final words. We have something worth fighting for. All ships, prepare for battle. This is our moment. This is our time. Let's show the galaxy what happens when you threaten humanity's home. Across the solar system, 1 million human warships powered up their weapons and prepared for the fight of their lives. As the Devourer fleet approached Earth, Elena stood on the bridge of her flagship and smiled. The machines thought they knew humanity's weaknesses, but they were about to learn about humanity's greatest strength. When pushed to the wall, humans didn't surrender. They fought back harder than anyone expected. All ships report ready for combat, Torres announced. Elena looked out at the stars where the enemy fleet was approaching and felt the accumulated courage of 12,000 years of human history flowing through her. Then let them come, she said. We've been waiting for this fight our entire existence. Time to finish what our ancestors started. The greatest battle in human history was about to begin, and Elena knew that whatever happened next, humanity would face it together as one people united across the stars. The storm was coming, but humanity was ready to meet it head-on.